Tasting is believing to see why this sweet Irish soda bread earns hundreds of 5-star reviews. As an added bonus, this easy quick bread can be made with all-purpose or gluten-free flour. Hi, I'm Melissa Erdelak from the gluten-free website Mama Gourmand, and today we are going to make Irish soda bread, but not just any Irish soda bread, the world's best Irish soda bread. This is the version that I grew up eating. My mom made this every St. Patrick's Day. So when I went to college in Bloomington at IU, it's St. Patrick's Day, so of course we're gonna go out and have some green beer. So I was telling all my friends, oh my gosh, we have to go have Irish soda bread. So we went to the Irish Lion, had some Irish soda bread, and I hate to say it, it was horrible. It was not like the bread I remember eating growing up, because this Irish soda bread is a sweet Irish soda bread. It uses a tad bit more sugar, which makes it amazing. And the other great thing about this bread is when I transitioned to a gluten-free diet, you can use gluten-free flour in it. So you can make this with traditional all-purpose flour or gluten-free flour, and you don't really have to make any adjustments to the recipe. So let's make your gluten-free life a success and not a hot mess. Recipe really could not be easier. It all comes together in a bowl, and it uses a lot of flour. So I'll be honest, it uses 4 cups of flour. I don't like using 4 cups of gluten-free flour because that stuff's expensive. So when I make this for my family, I will make a full recipe for them, and then I'll do a half recipe and just bake it in a smaller pan for me using gluten-free flour. Don't hate me, a cup of sugar, but like I said, that's what makes it good. And then a teaspoon of baking powder and a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and then you're just going to combine that together. And once it's combined together, then just kind of push the ingredients to the side, because you're gonna pour your liquid ingredients right in the middle there. Okay, for the liquid ingredients, just 1 egg, 1 1/3 cup of buttermilk. If you don't have buttermilk on hand, you can make your own soured milk too. You would just put a tablespoon of vinegar in the cup and then measure up the rest till you get 1 1/3 cups of milk. And then 1/3 of a cup of melted and cooled butter. Make sure the butter's cooled, or otherwise once it hits milk, it's gonna turn all solid again. And then just whisk that to combine. All right, and then we'll just pour those liquid ingredients right in the center here. Now the only difference you're gonna see between the gluten-free flour and the all-purpose flour is, and I'll be honest, I'm using regular flour today, but I have made this so many times with gluten-free flour. Let you know what to expect. The dough's going to be a little bit thicker. It'll be a little bit harder to stir, but that is the only difference. Sometimes with the gluten-free flour, towards the end of stirring, I kind of just go in with my hands and mix it up with my hands just to make sure that you don't have any flour pockets and everything's mixed in together. So the dough will look a little bit shaggy at first, and then as you just get everything worked in, it'll be a nice, soft, moist dough. Another addition that you can add is some orange zest. I would do that with the dry ingredients. I'm adding dried cranberries, but you could do raisins or golden raisins work too. If you go to the recipe post, I have a whole list of other mix-ins that you can make this your own version. All right, the last thing we're gonna add are dried cranberries, which probably isn't a traditional thing to add either, but it's how my mom always made them, and they're delish. This is the other part where you just kind of roll up the sleeves and work it in, just to make sure all the cranberries are dispersed throughout. Okay, ready to put it in our pan. I have a 9-inch cast iron pan that I am just going to spread some butter on Besides that, you can use a 9-inch round cake pan. Sometimes I've just done it on a baking sheet where I've just buttered a baking sheet and put the dough in the middle. The only thing about the baking sheet is it will spread a little bit more, so your baking time might have to adjust. If you're doing a half recipe, you can use a 9x5 loaf pan as well. All right, put the dough in, and then, so it doesn't look like a giant mess like it does now, I'm gonna slightly wet my fingers and then just kind of shape it into a ball in the middle. Wetting your hands just kind of makes the dough so it doesn't stick to it. Now, as it bakes, I'm gonna be honest, it's going to spread out in this pan, but I like just shaping it into a ball so it is nice and even, and when it spreads out, that it bakes evenly. Okay, the last thing we have to do is the signature crust on top. So I have a sharp knife and I also wet it, just so it doesn't stick to the dough. And then I'm gonna cut my crust on top, which just gives it a nice decorative look after you're finishing it. Now, the other difference between gluten-free flour and all-purpose flour is just the baking time. For regular flour, it'll take about 10 minutes less than if you're using gluten-free flour. So then we're gonna bake this for about 50 to 55 minutes, gluten-free flour for about an hour to hour and 10 minutes. Not only was this bread recipe the reason why I looked forward to the St. Patrick's Day meal, but my mom also made a slow cooker brown sugar apple juice, corned beef and cabbage that is amazing. And I will link to that recipe below. I mean, if your kids are like, I hate corned beef and cabbage, or if you want to convert anyone to loving the St. Patrick's Day meal, make this bread with that corned beef and cabbage. Home run, guarantee it. You can find this recipe in the description box below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.